Password again, Steve?
103110.
All right, we are live on Facebook. We got the real man, the only myth, the only legend, the one and only Gecko, not Geico, Tony, getting the wires straight. Hey, Tony, you got to be pretty good at braiding hair, my friend.
I am, actually.
Not that you have any hair, but just judging by how you got these wires. It is Thursday, and it's time to throw it out there, and we got a special guest that's going to be tuning on with us today. Not only on camera, but behind the camera. What's going on, and who are you, ma'am? I mean, sir?
I am Principal Socks for the day because we are going to be talking about the best in the desert rules and what they are. So we need to go over to none other than Justin Smith.
Oh, thank you, Steve, for the introduction. That was great. It was not the last one. I appreciate that.
Stop.
He's enforcing the rules. Just so you guys know, Principal Socks over there, he's the rule enforcer today, since we're talking about rules. And the one person that breaks the rules the most is probably Chase. I'm going to throw this out there, and I'm going to say that Chase is probably going to be in trouble more than anybody else on this whole video, no matter who we're talking about breaking the off-road rules. That's for sure. Right, Matt?
Yep.
You know what they say, girls like a bad boy, Matthew.
Well, we already got our first comment. Butch McCurdy says, good Lord.
Chase, stick your hand out because you were talking behind the camera.
Boom. Rule enforcement. Done.
Thank you, sir. I mean, ma'am.
It's ma'am.
So it kind of brings up our subject for the day, right? So who would be honestly dumb enough to sign up for the job of enforcing rules amongst a whole bunch of racers who we all know are not the cleanest in society?
Sounds like a bunch of man children too, with how much complaining there is going on with
I
all the
know.
rules.
You know, we have in racing, there's definitely fully grown men that are acting like children at all times.
I've seen tech. It's crazy.
I've seen me do it. So, right, and talking about tech, there's a lot of crying in tech. And Chase, do you have our special guest by chance?
We do. We got the one and only Alan Rudd. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Oh, living the dream.
I bet you didn't know that you're going to be signing up to be in a video with Principal Socks over here as a rule enforcer.
Well, you know what we did?
People are asking about my bra.
I know we were wearing dresses.
Well, we can. Steve will work. Will moonlight if you'd like him to come to the races and enforce the rules in tech.
You know, I think I'm gonna let him run the minis.
Whoa!
Ooh,
run
the minis, huh? Like the sound of that, sir.
So, everybody who's here watching the feed today, little introduction. This is Alan Rudd, who is in charge of Best in the Desert Tech, integral part of rule enforcement, rule writing. And speaking of that, you guys just dropped your new list of rules for all the off-road racers to follow, specifically in the UTV classes, because that's pretty much most of the people that are watching what we're talking about right now. What would you say, if you want to maybe take the mic right now and kind of run with what you think the most important things were in the new rule writing that you guys just dropped?
Well, we've adapted the other organizations' rules for some of our Pro Turbo cars and some of the other cars so we can get more in line so that these guys can run, you guys can run different series and not modify your cars. One of the big ones that we've changed is the OEM appearance of the cars. There's some bodies out there that were causing grief.
Can I call them out? Maybe BDI? If you're not going to call anybody out, I might have to.
Justin, stick your hand out for doing that.
Sorry. Got in trouble.
Go back to that.
You're so naughty.
My vision of this is to be UTV looking. The cars are so changed now. I've kind of came out with the rule that I told this individual that he has a Best in the Desert nose. He won't be running that Class 10 nose. He'll be running the nose that looks like a Can-Am at our races. The back fenders are close enough. It's a good-looking car. I don't think it leaves the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish with UTV racing. He's put a lot of money, work, and time into it. I applaud that. I don't think there's any competition advantage to it. His body. So that's kind of we're gonna relax a little bit there. Yeah, so you got the back fender.
Well, I think you're talking specifically Can-Am at the moment with your example, but we've got stock fenders here where it kind of point out a little bit of what you mean. But I have a question for you. So, according to the rules, as I read them, you're going to require hood, grill, fenders, front and rear on all UTVs to be legal in the production class, right?
Yes, OEM appearance. So the guys that are running zero back fender are going to need to come up with some way of getting them back on there. Really, guys, what we don't want to do is we don't want to lose the manufacturer on this. So if we keep them looking like UTVs and we keep them looking OEM, that helps us in the general run for manufacturers and for the masses out there in the social media. So I don't have a definite yes, it has to be this much, but I would like to see it look UTV-ish.
So when you say this much, you mean the fender can be trimmed a little bit, but you want to make sure that the spirit of the rule is adhered to and it looks like a UTV. It doesn't look like a UTV cut in half.
That's correct. Some of the cars, there's cars out there that have been racing for a while now that they're hard for me to tell what brand they are. I would like to see that come along to where we have more of a brand recognition, and it doesn't mean a partner. If you show up with racing for the last 3 years, I'm going to throw you out. I will maybe talk with you and make suggestions for the next races.
So that brings up one of the rules that I saw specifically looked like it had changed from the previous year, and that's tubing wall thickness compared to weight of the vehicle. And I think in the previous iteration of the rules, it had said 1.5 095, 1 3/4 095, 1.5 120 wall for cage components and door bars, A or Xing in the back of the car for the cage was dry weight. And now I see where it says wet weight. And if, in my opinion, it is a wet weight with driver's weight requirement for that, then I think you're going to end up having a lot of cars that are 100% not legal to the rule, because you're talking about a 700 or 800 pound swing between maybe last year's statement in the rules and this year's statement in the rules with regard to cage wall thickness. Is that true, or did I misread that?
Well, no, you didn't misread it. I do believe wet weight. The car should weigh what they're going to weigh when they leave the start line for safety. But Best in the Desert we have a different philosophy on our cage. Our cage rules, we don't own your cage. Your safety is owned by you. They're suggestions. And we do that for the liability of it. So we don't drill cages. We don't tag cages. We don't do anything else. There are a set of rules set out there for a guy building a car for the first time going racing, and it's a guideline. It's not SCORE used to tag drill cages, Magnaflex cages, and tag cages. We don't want to assume that responsibility and that liability. That is why our rules are written with suggestions for the cages, and it's basically boils down to the bottom that your safety is on you. It's not on us. So, am I going to start drilling cages and checking cages for tubing dimensions? No, I'm not. But if your car comes apart, it's going to be on you, not us.
Understood. I think that's actually a really good direction to go, because now you're not forced to police every nook and cranny and cage gusset. It's on the person who built the car. It's on the person who's racing the car to make sure that they have something that's safe. I think that's awesome. Honestly, it's a that's responsibility.
Kind of fun, the safety is yours. You're the one in the car, not me. So, I mean, it's a suggested set of rules.
We kind of jumped into the rules a little bit quick. I wanted to find out a little bit about you, because a lot of the racers don't know a lot about yourself. So what made you sign up for a job that everyone's going to want to try and kick you in the ass on every single race?
I go back. That's funny. My background is bikes. I was a car. I grew up in Oklahoma, so I've been around off-road since its inception.
Chase loves him some bikes. So you're in horrible company.
Yeah, I know all those guys. This whole thing, Daryl Folks was my roommate way back when. I've known the Folks boys for a long time, Casey, and been around a long time. I kind of got to the point in my career where I was not going to race anymore. My son and I were doing the pilot marking with Daryl for Vegas Reno. Kind of got more and more involved. It started out I was going to take over the bikes, and then it kind of morphed into the UTVs. I do have car experience, and I've been around. I've built some cars. I've been around, not to the magnitude you guys are, but I understand. I understand the cars. I understand the rules. I was in road racing. I worked as a crew chief for a road race team. I've been around car racing for a long time.
So nobody's going to be able to pull one over on you. You know exactly what you're looking at when you see a lug nut versus a wing nut.
Not the first time, I mean, they may give me the first time, but like I will look at a part, and pretty soon I'll understand why you're doing it, and we'll go from there.
Are you going to be racing in the class or racing in general yourself?
No, I will not be racing. That is one of the biggest things why it worked out. My predecessor was a good guy, and he just got busy racing, and I'm going to leave it at that. My focus is on working with you guys, working with the rules, working with everybody. You're showing me pictures of your brand new car. I'm sure that's going to come up in it.
Maybe so. I think even a lot of my friends that race are questioning whether we should be able to run the frame that we're running or not. We'll talk about that. But I think Steve has a really good question. He was asking earlier, were you ever in law enforcement or a hall monitor?
No, I was a construction.
Because you've been a bad boy.
I was a construction site superintendent, so I played with the masses.
Yes, and all the guys in construction are trying to get away with everything as well.
Oh, yeah. And the dealing with the personalities.
Childish, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go with that. I said it, you didn't say it.
Circle back to that.
Okay. What do you, Steve?
There is a couple questions on here talking about Pro RS1 class. Does not need a fuel cell? That was a question?
No, we've come along and we've adopted the RS1s are really, they're so small. It's hard to put a cell in a safe place without spending a ton of money. We've kind of gotten to the point. I talked to Brian. I said, we all race bikes. How many bikes have you crashed and they had them blow up? And nobody's had one blow up. So I think the manufacturers did a good job with their stock cells. I think that they're safe. I don't think that we're seeing a big problem with them. They've been out for years now. So we're gonna allow the new stock class and the RS1 class.
My fuel cell didn't blow up.
Hey, do not
Excuse
take.
me, you just interrupted?
The new RS1 class and the new stock classes, we will allow stock size cells with no additional. You can't run that and an extra tank.
Good clarification on that. Did you have another one you had? No? Matt?
I was just saying my stock fuel cell didn't blow up in my crash.
Oh, yeah, and it was a pretty good crash.
Which one, Matt? Which one are we talking about here?
One of the RS1 11 times didn't blow up.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. There's a lot put into this stuff, and let their engineering, millions of dollars of engineering is in a good place. There's no reason to change it if you don't have to. Matt?
I have had a couple questions about the Speed UTV. Is that going to be legal next year for him to race?
Let me just ask you that flat out. Is the Speed UTV going to be legal? Have they made enough units? We know they haven't made any yet, right? So what class is he going to have to be in?
I was on the phone with Speed this morning.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Oh, perfect.
So what's the determination?
So, as you've noticed, there's a new Pro Open class.
Yes.
The Pro Open class has an homologation rule, not a VIN rule. The homologation rule is 400 units. Daryl Folks asked me to plug this into the rules because we're bike guys. And the homologation rule is the intent of producing at least 400 units. It's kind of like the KTM factory edition bike. They brought it out before they released it to the public. So that class, that new class is put there in place for guys like that, the speed car, any of the other manufacturers that have new cars that are coming out that we could see, partner, and anything new and exciting coming along from the manufacturers. It's a manufacturer-driven class, and it's kind of where guys can start doing their new stuff.
So somebody was asking specifically for Steve if there's going to be a time where there'll be an open single-seater class. Because for him to drive an RS1, for she to drive an RS1,
I'm all about open classes.
he's going to need a whole lot of horsepower to be able to drive that single seater. Is there an option for that?
Yes, there is. Right now, our unlimited class, I'm going back and forth. I wrote a set of rules on my iPad, sent it to Megan, and she struggled getting them across to the window word, and I probably need to quit doing things on my iPad. But one of the things in the unlimited class is going to be single seaters are allowed. You can take an RS1 and stretch the chassis and put a 1200cc big bore in it and go for it.
Ooh, and that would be a ton of fun. Can you imagine what that would actually do?
It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's 1,300 pounds, 1,400 pound car at 100.
I hear a new project.
That'd be pretty amazing.
Someone said, Steve, you mean no class?
Low class.
Thanks,
Steve.
Mike. Thanks, Mike Dub.
No class, he's low class.
Alan, I think you should probably have a low class designation.
Low class, yeah.
Yeah, and that would kind of be a catch-all for everybody that showed up that didn't follow the rules, and that way Steve could race, and actually Chase could race. He could race his monkey or his bicycle, for sure.
Chase the monkey guy. There we go.
Oh, he is definitely a monkey
On
guy.
the monkey, the only bike that anyone ever needs to own.
He's like monkey forever.
There's no way. There's only one machine for the open road. On the monkey, baby.
Excuse me, put your hand out.
Oh, that hurt. That's
You
for
guys should
sure.
make a Honda Monkey class, to be honest, and it should be half road, half dirt.
If there were more than
My son is actually going to take over the motorcycle, so you can talk to him about those.
if there were more people that liked monkeys past just Chase, then you might actually have something there. But for now, it would just be a Chase class.
We have some more questions about the fuel cell coming in. One specifically about the RS1s that I'm going to let Steve ask you here. And then the other one was about why do natural aspirated and the turbo cars need fuel cells as well?
Yeah, that was the question.
The biggest reason for that is right now I didn't really want to reinvent all the rules. It's the amount of fuel they're carrying. I think the stock cells, if you went to nobody's going to want to run an 8-gallon cell in a pro turbo car. For one, those cars are not stock cars. We could flex on that rule if you're going to run a one-off your first time, but I don't see that becoming a major phone call I'm going to get from everybody in the pro turbo class. I'm looking at pictures of this car, and I think the last thing will be stuck in a stock cell, mostly because of the amount of fuel in the hole. I kept the fuel amounts down in the stock ones, just because it's kind of more for our entry level. The Pro NA and the Pro Turbo are your next step up, your stepping stone. And they're not $20,000 cars anymore. I don't know what Justin spent on this one, but it's not $20,000.
Definitely not $20,000. I probably spent $20,000 just to keep Chase out of this shop so we could actually build it.
So it is kind of the difference in the thing with the rules is everybody wants a rule for every car, and I can't do that. So I have to break it up somewhere. Into the 21 season, I got into this late. We got the rules released yesterday. It wasn't worth rewriting everything. For 22, we're going to see some more changes in the rules. I'm going to get with the racers, spend more time with them, spend more time with the manufacturers, and see what directions we need to go in and where we need to go to keep everybody in it. And at that time, I will have the 22 rules released by Vegas or Reno, so it gives everybody plenty of time to build new cars and change things. I didn't want to do that this year. I tried not to rule anybody out of the class that's already got cars being built.
I think that's
for cars from before.
I think that's a really good idea because you have to release the rules at a bad time where people have already built the car, or like us, we're halfway there, and who knows if we even make the first race, but we wouldn't want to have to start over. I have some quick questions that were sent to us before the feed. Maybe we can do kind of a rapid fire answer on some of these questions. First, the new Polaris car. You had mentioned that that's an open pro. Is the Open Pro class designed for that car specifically? Was that how that came about?
No, not specifically for that car. I try to keep the speed car in thoughts, and I believe Can-Am's got some new stuff coming out also.
How closely do you work with the manufacturers on brand new vehicles so that you have something in place before it's released?
Myself personally, no. Brian Folks, very much. He's on the phone with these guys every day. He gives me the directions.
Do you feel that the rules and classes are pushed and created by the manufacturers or by yourself, or a combination 50-50?
Combination. We try to keep them happy so they stay in the sport.
It would be great if they stayed in the sport, because the only reason these classes are as big as they are is because they're involved. That's just throwing my opinion out there.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%.
How are you going to regulate 33s? Because in the rules you say that the tire has to have the size written on it. It has to be 33, 32, but there might be manufacturers that put 33 on it and give you a 35.
That is correct. That is one I haven't really had to tackle yet. I'm going to have to. If it becomes an issue, we'll do a rollout on it.
If it's going to get abused, then you'll address it?
Yes. If it looks like it's being abused, I'll address it.
Okay. Does the Pro Turbo class have to qualify this year?
We're going to start qualifying. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen at Parker. We don't have the space and the time and the permits, which is a very bummer. I found that out last night. But we are going to go qualifying our pro classes. So we'll qualify Pro Unlimited, Pro Open, Pro NA, and Pro Turbo, and you will start by your qualifying spots.
You're not going to have to qualify, Matt.
Good luck. Good for Matt.
Chase, you just interrupted.
Out. There you go. So, does the finishing order from the previous race carry into the new race with qualifying in any way?
It will at some of the races, and I don't know exactly which ones. I think Vegas. I don't think Ryan wants to qualify the UTVs for Silver State. I think we'll go with the finish order there. And Vegas to Reno, we're still arguing. I would love for you guys to qualify for Vegas to Reno, but I don't.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be way awesome.
I think qualifying Vegas to Reno would be awesome, and having a really cool event like in Vegas and then jam up to the start line after that. But I think this year we're starting in Reno, right? So that wouldn't work. But
You are. We're going backwards, and it's going to be some pretty cool stuff.
You know, they have a short course up there.
I think it's great. The sooner that maybe the racers that had talked to us, they wanted to make sure that qualifying was going to be a solid thing or not, so that they could book an extra day for hotels, assuming that there would be an extra day involved in that.
Yeah, when we do it, like I said, we had every intention of doing it for here. We will definitely do it for the Legends race. This race here is just not going to happen. I'm really bummed. I thought I had it figured out, but no. I'm excited to see qualify. I'm excited to see where it all stacks up and throws it out, and let you guys throw some numbers out that you can, go against the car guys too.
I think that's really, really cool, and against different classes, like the Class 10 UTV rivalry thing is kind of a cool thing. No tagging of factory engines in Pro Turbo this year. How are you planning on regulating that, if that's the case, other than, say, pumping the motor?
We're going to, I've got it on order. I wish it was here now. I've got a guy that runs mini sprints back east, and he makes a gauge that I can go through the spark plug hole and check your board stroke.
Obviously, that's not going to be checking, head studs and porting.
We can go do that. We're going to go to a protest. So basically, we're going to go with a board stroke. It's kind of like that Whistler was they used at the 6100s.
Yep.
I can check your board stroke randomly. Right now, anybody that has a tag on their engine, that'll take them away from being the random tag, the random check. If you still got an old one, I don't need to check it if you've got a tag. But I wasn't a big fan of the way the tag rule went down to do it online and everything else. I didn't think it was very policeable. The options were you ship every motor to us and then we tag it and ship it to you, or go to this rule. The other organizations all have this same type of rule, so I just think it's easiest for us to police, and it'll be the best. And if somebody comes along and says, man, that guy blew by me in the dry leg bed at 80 miles an hour faster than I was going, and I want to protest him, then fine. We'll pull his motor apart.
Yeah, if it's obvious. I think it is long. Personally, I think if people have the the threat of anything coming off that thing, you're not going to see any rule infractions.
Well, and I think also that the belts are, they're a self-policing thing also. They help police the class anyways.
Right. Chase?
Alan, you shot yourself in the foot here during the middle of that rapid fire, brother. You got the people wanting to know now. You mentioned something coming out new from Can-Am.
I was waiting. Frank
Now
G
everybody
asked.
wants to know what it is.
Frank
Spill the
G
beans, Alan.
It is a six-wheeler. I saw here.
Six-wheeler and maybe a hovercraft combined.
Yeah, he's got the same. Bless his heart.
Check it out again.
Bless his heart.
Circle back to this.
As well as it seems like you might have the release date for the Pro R. Come on, tell us something new.
I'm going to circle back to that too. You guys come to Parker and check it out.
Might be released at Parker. There was actually some rumors that it would be released for King of the Hammers. And I don't know. I guess we'll see, huh? If not, then definitely have to be Parker.
I don't know on that. I'm not, like I said, Brian Folks is the one that has those conversations. I get it secondhand. So I'm not privy to everything that's going on.
Steve, what do you got?
Justin, are you trying to hide something on your car that people want to know?
No, I'm actually just preventing Chase from being fired, actually, right now.
I was hoping you'd move.
Damn it.
Hey, put your hand out. You just talked.
No, we're not hiding anything. You guys can look at anything on the car. We've been surrounding the thing the whole dang video, man. You can stop it and look at anything you want.
Oh, there will be plenty of people doing that nonstop.
Elephants out. Let's talk about your car.
So let's talk specifically about the chassis that we're using, because we have had 2 or 3 people send me the same question, and that is.
I appreciate you forcing my hand on this.
Yes, specifically, I'm going to throw him under the bus. Brandon Sims would like to know how in the hell the chassis from Geyser Performance, that's specifically Sean Geyser, is legal in the pro class. I'm going to tell you what I know already, and then maybe I'll let you polish it off with maybe the best details. In the way the rules were written in the past, the factory chassis were used, obviously, and people were supporting them wherever they were weak. And it turns out eventually, after a few races, or enough races, there's nothing left of the stock car anymore, and the whole thing's chromoly. Or, let's say you go to a specifically built car, like a Lone Star or anything else, the whole car is a chromoly handmade chassis with just the front bulkhead and rear bulkhead in it. And also in the rules, if you were to break the front bulkhead or wreck the car or fold it up enough, you were allowed to fix the front bulkhead assemblies with chromoly parts as long as they were the same wall thickness and diameters, and the gusseting remained stock. Well, everybody bends that rule a little bit too and just builds a chromoly front end. That became legal. Then really the only thing left on a pro turbo car that most people are running is the rear radius rod plate. And so what people are doing is buying a whole chassis for $2,000 to $3,000, depending on where you buy it, just to get that rear radius rod plate, which is completely useless anyway, because everyone's supporting the radius rod plate so it doesn't fall apart, and put it on a handmade chassis. And that's pretty much what all of the cars had become. So with me saying that, now here we are with a Geyser chassis. Maybe you can explain to Brandon why it's legal, because kind of maybe the progression of how all the racers had gone.
Well, yes, exactly. And my hand was forced. I've gotten some emails from people where some people were allowed. They were allowed to make the modifications, allowed to make the changes. And somebody said to me once, not too long ago, they sent me a text on when you're writing a rule, and I love it. I've quoted it a bunch of times. What is the intent of that rule? Is that rule easily policed, and how does that rule affect the promoter? So, with that in mind, I look at these chassis, and I'm going to be adamant about pivot points. But I've seen so many changes and so many things. I don't really see that car right there. If you were to weld a stock Can-Am front bulkhead and rear bulkhead into that whole car there, you're not achieving anything. That car's a full built race car. It's built within the spirit of the rules. It follows the pivot points. I want to make some jigs to check the pivot points.
That was actually another question that Jake Carver had. How can you enforce the pivot points?
I'm going to make some jigs that will. I'll take some stock cars. We're gonna make some jigs, and if it's too, unbolt your arms. I'm gonna plug this jig in. If it doesn't fit, then you've moved your pivot points.
I like it.
And another thing is talking about the stock pivot points, and it's kind of a great thing in the rules. Everybody goes through a long travel kit, and as soon as you go to a long travel kit, you move the pivot point. It's been allowed forever. That shock is not in the stock location. So that pivot point, that rule is already all the way out there. Look at that card right there. You've got to brace it up. If you're going to go as fast as these Pro Turbos are going, you're going to run into problems. Now, not all the manufacturers run into those problems. I understand that. I've been asked for leeways in the rules for some of the other classes. But I think as long as we stay stock dimensions, we stay spirit of the rules, I've had so many people say, well, I crashed it. I needed a new bulkhead. When they probably didn't crash it. I could make you mail me the crashed parts. But other than that, how do I know?
And it's next to impossible to police. And from what I've seen, you're putting together a program that is actually policeable where it's able to be, and the responsibility is placed on the racer to do the right thing where you can't police it.
Yeah, and I just, these cars are evolving. They're evolving every day, and you guys are gonna push it. You're gonna keep me on my toes, but I hope that the spirit of the class we need to keep the manufacturers in. So if we do what happened with Class 8 racing, pretty soon the manufacturers all left, and there's no money and there's no Class 8 racing.
That's a fact, and that's a really good example because that's what will happen to the UTV class if it's allowed to run without factory identity and a little bit of policing. Steve, actually, I'm sorry. Principal Socks.
Thank you. Speaking of factory identity, my question would be I don't understand why people would be mad at a better chassis, because that's just protecting you as the racer itself. That's making you safer having it that way, correct?
That's a really good point. It's actually one of the best points to be made, but I'm going to go one further. And if you were to race a bone stock chassis, and that's fine for 1 or 2 races, you're going to support the thing where it's cracking. And then 3-4 races in, you're going to replace half the tubes anyway. And 1 season in, you're going to throw it away. So when it comes to the cost of the sport, I think that this chassis, you do it 1 time and you're not doing it again, is a whole lot cheaper than what someone would spend trying to support a factory one throughout 1 year, much less 2 years. So I don't agree with it being expensive. Actually, I think in the long run, like 1 season, it's cheaper.
That's what
personally.
That's what I was thinking.
And definitely safer.
Yeah.
And that's a great point. And I do believe in the safety of it. As we've talked about it, we've got some new classes. I've got that stock class. My intent with that class, the thought is
Matt, he's talking about your class.
Yeah. Your grassroots guy builds a cage, he builds a car in his garage,
Give me your hand.
and he goes races Vegas Reno, and he breaks the thing. Then he starts moving up. He starts changing, but at least he's got the bones to start with, and then keep moving up until he works his way to the Pro Turbo class. And we don't have a bunch of guys building Pro Turbos that don't belong in that class. Maybe they'll start down in the stock classes and work up.
Really good point. I love the stock classes because they develop more racers in bigger classes, and they develop better racers, that's for sure. Matt?
When does Rally get to race Vegas Reno? Or Silver State?
Vegas Reno.
Yeah.
They started that because Donald and those guys were anti-stock fuel cells. They thought the stock fuel cells were going to get blown up.
Come on, Donald.
Why it's all changing, as we obviously thought is changing. The rally class is kind of a weird class to me. It's not, you're allowed to be stock, and then you can throw long travel on it. It's kind of, coming out of bike racers, it's the unclassified class. It's run what you run. Most people use it for that extra time on the course in our blue water in those races.
Would that be illegal pre-running? Just saying?
Yeah, it would be illegal, but if you pay me the entry fee, then you can go ahead and do it.
Okay. There it is.
That sounds bribery there.
Boom. Love it.
Yeah. I kind of think, and I'm probably going, but I think next year, this year, everything on the rally cars fits into the sportsman class. So you can pretty much run your rally car at sportsman if you want to do like Vegas Reno.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I think that's great. I always love the sportsman class because
I know where I am next
it's like,
season.
It's the one you go to if you broke the rule and they're like, you're out of here. No, you can still race. I like that.
Yeah, and I kind of as we go into this whole thing, I kind of want to. I kind of foresee rally and sportsman just becoming one. Probably not this year because it's just too late to make any of these changes. But I foresee that becoming a class, a bucket lister type class.
It would be nice because right now, sportsman, you see 1, 2 cars.
Yeah, it would open that up. Steve, what do you got?
So Jake Carver.
What?
And he
Jake?
said, my chassis has 4 years on the same chassis, just saying.
Okay,
That's
let
a
me
smiley. But
then
then hold
let
on.
me qualify that, Jake. You have a Reese Millen chassis, which is about as close to this Geyser chassis
Not stock.
in a
I'm not going to hit
Polaris.
you for that one.
It's basically a Polaris version, right? Its version of what we've got, and you've been able to run it for 4 years and save all that money of fixing it. So that's, in my opinion, it sells the process of that frame to me.
And quite honestly, I don't see where you gain any speed by putting a chromoly bulkhead. Your car got no faster.
No, I mean, some people might argue that you could drive faster without breaking it, but they're just going to do that with the stock frame anyway. They're going to break the bulkhead in the stock one, they're going to put a chromoly bulkhead in it, and they're going to drive faster in the stock one. So why not have a chassis that's actually stronger or safer anyway?
Carver says he has a stock bulkhead. Still stock bulkhead is what Carver's saying.
Oh yeah, with how much chromoly added to it.
Now, I do have
Tell
2
the
people.
truth.
Chase,
Polaris too, right?
Yeah.
Chase, please put your hand out because I have 2 people saying they have still not received their shirts.
I'm sorry.
What?
Thank you, Steve. May I have another?
DM me, and I will get you taken care of.
Yes. Hey, Alan, you were talking about the kids' classes a little bit, and I gotta tell you, talk about the most competitive class I've ever seen, and probably the most fired up parents in history, more so than the pro classes, I think. Oh, did Chase mess up?
No, we're good. We're good.
Weird, because I can't.
I lost you for a second.
Yeah.
Very good.
sorry,
Oh,
lost
imagine
you, Alan.
that, Chase.
Yeah. So, Alan, back to the kids' classes. It's fun to watch the parents just lose their minds.
Yes. I released those rules, and we already had to make adaptations yesterday. One of the things to let the kids know that the 30-inch tires are going to be okay. I'm not adamant about a 29-inch tire. I was copying works rules. I copied the works rules at a request, just try to get more people in, try to get more there.
Yep.
That caused a lot of heartburn with the Lucas guys. I've opened up that stock class to now you can run any air filter you want. That seemed to be another heartburn. I don't really see a big deal about that. I guess I'm probably going to learn a whole lot about 170 UTVs at Parker. And I'm probably not going to have much of a hind end left by the time that race is over.
Yeah, probably.
That's why I'm going to bring him along. He's going to come with his dress, so at least as he's
Steve, you are enlisted to help to enforce the rules in the kids' classes and keep the parents in line.
And Matt,
Class is in session.
Can we say that this would be a parent-teacher conference if in the kids' classes they get in trouble?
He's got it all.
Hey, what do you got, Matt?
My buddy Robert Campbell just said,
I am not an expert on the youth classes. I'm probably
Gonna
gonna
slap his hand?
All right. Well, that means that all the parents that are watching this have patience.
Matt, you're allowed to run 29-inch tires, and it doesn't matter what air filter you use for your 170.
Hey, Matt, can we control your parents when you're racing?
Absolutely not.
probably. You've met him.
Hey, Alan, have you got anything else that you want to really point out that we haven't tried to touch upon or steer you towards on the rules?
No, I just one of the biggest things is I'd like to see that stock class get out there and get promoted. That was kind of my thing. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see a ton of them in Vegas Reno. I understand that this race is not going to be hardly anybody's going to have a car ready, but I want to see it develop and grow. If you really want to get started in racing, that's a great class to get you into. You go buy your chassis, you buy your car, and as time goes on, you can modify it and move up to where you've got one of those sitting on a table. But the rules, the intent of the rules and the purpose of the rules is to try to keep the playing field level, and I hope we can achieve that.
I think that you're doing a great job of it. I think that from what I've heard today, and hopefully what everybody has learned today about your mentality on how Best in Desert is going about trying to have a homogenous rule system with other organizations, so you can bring more racers in there. Also, the rules are kind of a living entity, right? As you see things that need to be addressed, you're going to address it and you're going to talk to everybody about it. And from what I've learned in just the short conversations that I've had with you so far, is that you are available to be talked to about the goods and the bads and maybe what people's opinions are in the rules. So I think that's a really good way to start off this season, having the camaraderie with the racers to make sure that the rules are written to keep things, keep them happy, the manufacturers happy, and the races safe.
Exactly. I hope I can achieve all of that. That's a big shoot, Phil. But
it is, especially while everybody's yelling at you.
Yeah, but you know what? At the end of the day, the Best in the Desert is ran by racers for racers. So all of us now that are doing this, we're all ex-racers or are racing. So Brian Folks and I are building a stock car. We're going to go race more on some of the smaller series, just to stay out and stay in touch.
I think that's awesome. You guys have any other questions before we shut this down?
We got quite a few coming in, and
how about rapid fire really quick? Do 5.
First and foremost, our guys from Phillips Racing, are ignition coils legal? Energy coil with the question mark.
God, I would have to. I'll have to circle back to you.
Well,
the rules now, it's not.
Yeah, I don't think that the rules actually designate the ignition or the coil itself. I think it says that it has to be factory style or factory design.
Yeah,
Great question, Phillips. And I've been ducking this one here from Keen Racing. Are you going to answer if your son's RS1 has a fuel cell?
No, it does not. It also doesn't have a lot of things on it right now. Like I said, he carpooled 11 times. It's not going racing next week.
Right on. What do you got, Steve?
I do have a question from Keen Racing. He said the Mint 400 lets RS1s with NA class race. Why does Best in the Desert not do the same?
Because we're not the Mint 400.
There it is. Boom. As simple as that. Matt, you got anything? You're just looking at me with you got this look. Like, what are we doing here? Why am I standing next to this guy?
Well, my good friend Robert Campbell actually said a couple times, Blurton is proof of a stock chassis still being able to dominate a class.
Well, I would agree. And Phil, you're watching. Feel free to call me and call me out. Yes, Phil has killed it with a stock chassis design. It is not. Phil, there's no way your chassis is 100% bone stock without one support or two gusseted in that frame. So I would disagree, and I would disagree. It is the same chassis design that has been run forever and ever. It is not the same exact frame forever and ever.
As a matter of fact, Phil, you put your hand near that camera right now, okay?
He's a great guy.
Yes.
Phil the direction we were going with it. He knew about it when he built his new car.
Yeah. So there we go. There's nothing that can be hidden from the racers that are actually in the top 10. They're all going to figure it out as quick as they can.
Oh yeah.
For sure. What else? Anything else, Steve?
Nope.
All right.
Aluminum firewall required for the sportsman class or rally.
Take note.
So I did not rewrite the rally and the sportsman classes. I just didn't really have time. So they are still. My interpretation of the firewall is the back to keep the motor out of the engine compartment. So where your 90% of your fire is going to start in the engine compartment, come forward. So I've left that rule alone. The stock class, I'm going to let you run the stock firewalls. We're going to go with an OEM car. Like I said, the rally class and the sportsman class, quite honestly, guys, everybody out there running these, I just left them alone. I didn't really modify them. It did make big changes, and I didn't really take them. As you can probably tell, I was very busy with Pro Turbo.
Yes, I would imagine that's where the majority of the issues lie. Or that in the kid classes.
And yeah, that in kids classes apparently.
You guys, if you guys don't have any other...
Back to your RS, I want to circle back to your RS1.
Yeah.
I know there's I've been getting a lot of blow up the last 2 days on RS1s. We do have a Pro RS1 class. There is a class that you can go race your RS1s, Best in the Desert. Score does not have that class. You build that class up. Make it the premier. Make those RS1s go into that class and bring more of them in and build your own class of it. You know, it's a little different car. And go from there. And then maybe 22 we can take a look at talking to the NA guys and see where they're at. But right now I can tell you what, the NA guys did not want to allow the RS1s into that class.
I wouldn't think that they would want to. I mean, you take an NA two-seater and handcuff it with racing single-seaters. I completely get it.
Yeah, I do too.
Nobody else wants you in their class, Steve.
Stop it.
Someone just said that Steve is a funny effer. He can't believe it. Like this, you topped it, all of them.
Hey, man.
Enforce the rules.
I've peaked.
Yeah.
I've peaked. Perfect.
So coming to a tech session near
all
you,
downhill now.
we're going to have Steve in full garb, at least for a minute until Alan kicks him
So
out.
now Justin.
That's Mrs. Socks, by the
Now I
way.
have to show up like this. Okay.
Mrs. Socks. Hey, I'm gonna cut this off because we're slowing down on questions. Okay, Alan. Thank you very much for being the punching bag a little bit today and super informative. Obviously, you know your stuff when it comes to what's going on here, and you plan on talking with all the racers about things as they change. Kind of an open book, right? And transparency is always there, it seems, from what I'm getting, and I love it.
Yep, no, you guys, I enjoy talking to you guys. It's fun to talk to everybody. I may not always have the right answer for you. I guess pretty PO'd RS1 guys right now, but I'm sorry, the majority has spoken.
Awesome. Thanks again for signing in and answering everybody's stuff. Chase says if you give him a shirt color and a size, he'll send you a shirt. I doubt it.
As long as you send me a media vest. Send me a media vest and I'll send you a shirt, all right?
And we're supplying Steve for any...
You're going to be wearing that dress with an orange vest.
I'll only wear the orange vest.
Alan, thank you very much, man. Hey, Steve, why don't you send us out of here because... Well, Steve, send us out of here because we're going to go back to work.
We can't let Steve send us out of here until I have 2 questions that had nothing to do with Best in the Desert that need to be answered. First one's for you, Justin.
Okay.
Will the car be done for the 250? Tell us how Darren and Tony are doing.
It does not look like it, does it? But no, it'll be done. Trust me. The guys really work hard and they're working late hours, and we'll get it done no matter what.
I've had multiple requests, Steve, to see you bust it. Are you familiar with the TikTok bust it craze right now?
I don't even know what that means, but you know what? Maybe next Thursday.
Chase, do you want to show us?
Well, it's basically you just got to drop down low and shake your hind end a little bit.
Bust it? Here, Chase, let's see what you got.
So you drop down and then you shake it, but they want to see you.
Wait, how do you shake it, Chase?
Show me.
Is it more of like a booty popping, or what is it?
Stand up, and all you got to do, right, is you're going to drop down and then you got to bust it. That's what they want to see.
I don't see anything happening when you're down.
Nothing with me. This is for Steve.
Steve, you want to give it a shot?
We're going to try.
Can you get a little
Why
booty
do I
shake?
do this stuff? Hold my phone.
You signed up for
Hold
it.
my phone. Let me pull my garment up.
I think it's more of a twerk.
So hold on.
I'm
gonna get down, and then once I get down, you got to get down and shake it. All right, ready? Go.
Nah, I don't know if that's what it is, but he did a better job than you did, Chase.
We're gonna work on it.
With
Don't
that
worry.
being said, I think that Steve's got us on the way.
Let me take it out of here. All right, guys. If you're looking to buy anything from us, go to our website, www.shocktherapist.com. Or if you have any questions, please call into the shop at 623-217-4959. And class has ended.
Been dismissed. Mike Tubbs, those C cups did look nice.